and it's all sorts of major industries where you're seeing problems with this. We'll go into detail. Boy, if you are just waking up, this is something to kind of sit up and pay attention to. This is having impacts around the world, and it's all sorts of major industries where you're seeing problems with this. We'll go into detail in just a moment on this, but it's something that started overnight in Australia and kind of rolled around the globe. We have seen some impacts from a lot of different places in the markets. Right now, you do see some red arrows. What's happening in both the Dow down by about 85 points, NASDAQ off by 38, the S&P 500 down by 4. Treasury markets at this point, if you want to take a look, you're going to see that right now it looks like the Treasury yields, actually, you can see in the bottom of your screen, 447 is where you see the 2-year, 420 is the 10-year. But all of this kind of waiting to see what happens with the big story that's on global IT outage. Andrew, why don't you take over with this now, because this is the big issue right here. We can't really talk about the markets or anything else without talking about this first.
Let's talk about what is going on here this morning. For those of you who may not have access to your computers or potentially email or other things, Microsoft and cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike suffering major outages overnight. It's leaving businesses, including financial firms, airlines, emergency services, unable to access their computer systems. Microsoft said that its issue began just before 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's last night. Now, the company determined the cause and restored service, but many users still reporting issues. We've got some ourselves. NBC has confirmed that a CrowdStrike update is also causing widespread computer disruptions. The company blaming an issue with the latest update and said that it was in the process of rolling it back globally, but how quickly all of that happens, of course, is the question.
Yeah, and this, I think, just shows the weaknesses and the points where you have a problem. We've seen this with other attacks that have happened and things that have been taken down. This is not a cyber attack. At least there seem to be no indications of this. It looks like it was a problem with CrowdStrike and a new release that they rolled out that had problems and that rolled through. But when everything's in the cloud, everything gets...
We are all interconnected.
Everything gets shut down by this. You're talking about hospitals, as you mentioned before. You've got retailers that have been shut down by this, communications companies, media companies, airlines, major banks. And you are going to wake up and probably have some issues with this if you are thinking that you've got business as usual and you're off to a place like the airport.
Well, we can only hope. It's 6 a.m. I'm hoping when people get to the office this morning, though there are obviously some people at the office already who are having the problems that we may be having. Phil LeBeau this morning is in Cardiff, Wales. I want to get over to him. Good morning.
Hey, Andrew, we've been watching this over the last several hours as it's played out. I've got a little bit of good news for you. American Airlines, about 20 minutes ago, lifted the ground stop for mainline flights for American Airlines. So that's domestic as well as transatlantic and around the world, as well as SkyWest regional flights that are operated for American Airlines. So both have lifted the ground stop. Those flights should start taking off as scheduled, but ground stops still remain in effect for a number of other airlines, Delta and United. I've reached out and talked with United several times this morning. They are working on the issue. No indication when it will be resolved. The FAA has also put out a statement within the last 15 minutes saying that it is working with a number of airlines that have requested a ground stop because of the IT issues that they're experiencing. And then over here in Europe, Ryanair is telling people, show up to the airport 3 hours early. Who knows how long it's going to take to go through ticketing to get you on the plane, for the plane to take off. If you take a look at a FlightAware map of flights over Berlin, it's basically empty. So the ripple effect is being seen in terms of global travel. But again, if there is some good news this morning, at least a little bit of good news, it's that American, the first of the major carriers that was under a ground stop, has now lifted its ground stop. Guys, back to you.
Okay, Phil, thank you for that. And we're going to be checking in on all sorts of industries this morning to try to understand how they are being affected. Thank you.